Hey, folks, welcome back to another fun episode, at least I hope, of 5 Minutes with Gray Hair Dave. That's me. I'm Gray Hair Dave. And here's the story. I have a gray beard. I have gray hair. I'm wearing glasses just like the guy in the artwork. And today, yes, on Friday, I'm wearing the green shirt. But I have my logo on it. He does not. So, how's everybody doing today? Well, for gray haired Dave here, it's a lovely day outside. I just went out, got the car washed. I did a little grocery shopping. Came home and said, "Hey, it's time to start talking to my gray haired friend folks, gray haired Dave friend folks." So what's happening today, folks? I pulled up some information that I thought was kind of cool um, about what was happening on this day back in 1974. Now, actually, I pulled it up for the year because today is going to be the last day, or as far as I can tell, the last day of 1974 that I plan on talking about. I went into high school in the early 70s. I graduated in 75. So in the fall of 74, folks, I became a senior in high school. My friends and I, we all ran to be class officers. We won. I beat out this wonderful girl by just a few votes, and she used to hold that over my she used to hold that over my head every time we talked. I miss those days. Those were fun days. And as class officers, we got away with a lot more things than we probably should have, folks. But I'm not going to say much about that. 1974, I was working, and that fall I started working at Sears and Roebuck, which they took away the Roebuck and just started calling it Sears years later. But I was on what was called I was in or what was on what was called the co-op department. In is a better word for it, where it's kind of like work release. I went to school in the morning. I think I had enough credits that I only had to have 3 or 4 classes. If I'm not mistaken, it was 3. And one of them was co-op class. The other one was, we called it civics, but realistically it was poli-sci. And I believe another one was a business class of some sort. And I enjoy. And then after that, after lunch, you got in your car and or whatever, and you went to work. And if it was your day off from work, wherever it was, you went home. By noon, you were done. And that was one of the advantages of being in the co-op department. You had in that co-op class, they taught you about working and they taught you about resumes and job interviews and how to coexist with coworkers, conflict resolution, and all those fun things. And they were getting you ready for the real world. The first time I'd ever been put out into a real world. Yeah, I'd worked for my dad for a while up in the lumber yard. And I worked at Sears for, I think it was a good 5 or 6 months. And after Christmas, when things slowed down, I was laid off because I was part time and I was a co op worker. So they didn't have to pay me quite as much as they would pay their regular people. I was still making good money in my mind. I was happy. And then, I got the job at the drugstore at in my same hometown, and I worked there until I started working at the paper mill. So, there were jobs that you had to go do. And I remember it being a fun time. I remember watching football games. I remember going to our high school football games. I remember watching football on Saturdays with my brother if he was home. Or, with my dad on Sundays if he was in the mood to watch football. And I think that's where my entrance to football came around. But I was dating also. So I wasn't at home as much as I was when I was a junior or younger than that. So you go through those times as a kid growing up and you have your own money, so you're doing your own things. I remember getting my first car before I graduated high school. A lot of kids did. Mine was a Dodge Satellite. No, it was a Plymouth Satellite. And it was the same exact model as the Dodge Charger. And it was just the Plymouth version. But it was good. It was a good looking car. It was red, had a black Landau roof, and it had these great looking rims, these chrome rims, and 50s on the front and 60s. No, it was 60s on the front, 50s on the back, whatever that was, whatever that version was. The front and the back tires were a little different size. The back tires were bigger. It was a two door. I enjoyed that car. It was my first of my own cars. It was great. So, you get a little bit more responsibility. And that's the fun part of growing up, right? In a sense, you get more responsibility. Your parents are giving you more responsibility. They're giving you more freedom to do what you want to do when you're a senior in high school. And of course, like I mentioned yesterday or the day before or the day before, the girlfriend was more popular in my family than I was. To this day, that cracks me up. Really, really does. But when you have the right girlfriend, you're doing good. Anyway, so that was 1974 in the school days. Now, in 1974, we were listening to different kinds of music than we were in the 60s. The Way We Were by Barbara Streisand was out there, which is kind of mellow. Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, which was kind of a throwback to the 60s or a leftover from the 60s. And I already talked about The Streak with Ray Stevens and then Benny and the Jets with Elton John, because Elton John was starting to come in with more and more music. He and Bernie Taupin were writing great music back in the 70s. It was great. I was a huge Elton John fan, still am. I saw him a couple of times in concert. And the one thing that I want to tell you about Elton John is he's a classy guy. My second wife, number two, we went to an Elton John concert in it was in the Palace in Auburn Hills, Michigan. It was a great, great venue, but it was also where the basketball team, the Pistons, played. And Elton John, after every song, stood up, bowed, and waved to everybody. I mean, the people behind him that were behind the curtain and could hardly see, the really, really cheap seats. And such a classy guy. There's no way around it. He just had it together. And I've gone to quite a few concerts in my life, and number two and I went to see Chicago quite a few times. Two and a half and I did too. I'm a big, big, huge fan of the group Chicago. Three Dog Night had a number out that year too that was called "The Show Must Go On," and it was kind of circus ish or esque in the way the music went on. Here's one. Yeah, that was great. By Brownsville Station. It was called "Smokin' in the Boys' Room." Oh my God. "The Night Chicago Died" by Paper Lace. Um, "Tell Me Something Good" by Rufus and Shaka Khan. There was "Radar Love" by Golden Earring. Um, Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens was a weird dude. "Oh, Very Young." Oh, very young. He he got very religious after a while. And I believe, and don't quote me, I could be wrong. I believe he found the Muslim faith, and he changed quite a bit, and so did his music. And some believe it was for the better, some don't. Um, I'm leaving that opinion up to you. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. I think I talked about that before. Um, that was an excellent, excellent song. My Girl Bill by Jim Stafford. Rock and Roll, Baby by the Stylistics. Call on Me by Chicago um, was a great song. And I saw another one here. Where did they go on my little list? I've been searching so long. They're good songs, and I really really enjoyed them, and I hope you did too. So leave me a message on my website. 5 minutes with Gray Hair Dave. Let me know what your favorite music was back in the '70s or in '74. Who were your favorite artists? What was going on in your life? Um, were you out of high school? Were you still in high school? What was going on in your life? Leave me a message. Also, folks, it's that time of day. We're going to call it a day for today. Do me a favor. If you have friends out there who don't know what a podcast is or where to find one, how to play it, do me a favor, show them for me, will you? All us podcasters would appreciate that. Podcasting is a fun thing. I enjoy it every day, and I'm kind of hoping that you enjoying this show. If you do, please tell your friends. 5 minutes with Gray Hair Dave. I'm on all the podcasting sites, and I'm also on my own website. 5 minutes, that's the number 5 minutes with Gray Hair Dave. You're going to hear me say it all the time. So, folks, from Gray Hair Dave, it's Friday here in Central Florida. You all have a wonderful weekend, and don't forget, smile at somebody. And if you don't know what something is, look it up. Have a great weekend, folks. Bye-bye.